Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. My name is Ola Atamanova. It's my pleasure to welcome you at Ukraine Media Center. Today we have invited you to talk about the new standard being imposed in Ukraine, the standard of blending bioethanol to gasoline. We'll talk about implementation. We will talk about the impact of this change on prices. And joining us in the studio is Serhii Kuiun, fuel market expert. Good afternoon, Mr. Serhii. Good afternoon. A little bit of background starting from the 1st of May. All of the gasoline in Ukraine, except for that provided to the military, should have some fraction, 5% of bioethanol added. That's one of the requirements of the accession to the European Union. So that's one of the standards existing in the European Union for the time being. And Mr. Serhii, I would like to talk about the way this standard was imposed, how it was launched in Ukraine. And there's a lot of talks about whether it can be of some harm to the automobiles, this standard. So just to understand all of the pros and cons of adding bioethanol to our gasoline. Well, in fact, tomorrow is going to mark 2 weeks after the imposition of the standard, after its implementation, and it was really expected. There are no significant problems arising. Let me remind you, in Europe, this standard was implemented like 15 years ago. Everybody keeps on using gasoline, no problems. And basically, thanks to the fact that market got prepared, at least the major civilized fraction of the market got prepared, everything works fine. Well, first of all, I haven't heard either from the companies or anyone else any reports of any problems. I mean, it's clear. Anyway, nobody wants to expose their vulnerabilities, but on the other hand, I mean, some objective indicator like social media where people could express their dislikes. But again, even there, everything is quiet, no significant problems being exposed, and those videos that, you know, were promoted, forced, well, I mean, they were ridiculous. I've checked out one of them, and it was a diesel engine being there, so that was not even a gasoline car. So I think the program was launched successfully. Some of the drivers were still scared or like worried, and it resulted in demand for a 98 type of fuel for which the standard is not imposed, because that's an exotic mark. Not all of the automobiles are really like fit for using it, and it cannot be preserved like for a long time, and nobody creates a lot of reserves for them. So some of the chains were completely exhausted, and they were staying like for a week without any reserves. But now the situation is stabilized on top of those specific curiosities. Well, so do we understand it correctly that it's no problem at all? Well, you see, there are no complaints coming from anywhere, and from any perspective, such a small admixture, 5%, it cannot really impact anything. I mean, a lot here depends on technological culture, to what extent the chains of the gas stations got prepared to it. I mean, clearing their tanks, clearing their cars, their trucks. Then again, they need to sort out their base infrastructure. But I think it requires probably about a month or two to come to some final conclusions, to make sure that everybody understands how to work with this product, and then we're going to be able to state safely that we're through this reformation. Well, when I was preparing to this broadcast, I've checked out what people say about it. So among the challenges that can be posed by a mixture of bioethanol, so what the journalists are saying, first of all, They say that if there is a threat, it's a threat for old vehicles that they may turn out to be unfit, and then some sensitivity to humidity. Are those really the challenges? Are they something that can really affect the cars badly? Well, there's a lot of stereotypes, there's a lot of misinformation. I've seen one of the bloggers who was advising to buy diesel cars because bioethanol is not being added to diesel. Well, it's not being added to diesel anywhere because there are specific biodiesel components that are being added to diesel. They are biologically based. Well, when it comes to old vehicles, 5% of bioethanol, such a small concentration, it's incapable of affecting operation of any engine. For any single vehicle, it won't be even noticeable. When it comes to E30, E40, let alone E85, like in Latin America, the cars are being manufactured by the automobile producers, right, at their factories. They have engines that are fit for using those types of fuel. Well, for some of the old vehicles, there are some measures that need to be taken, like replacement of some rubber parts, and then everything is going to keep operating just as it's intended. We have this product in our market. It's been sold in our market for years. E30, E40, those are the alternative types of fuel. They are being taxed at the exemption rate, but again, I cannot say they are real popular. They are being sold in small volumes by one single chain in Ukraine. But I mean, still, this phenomena exists in Ukraine. If it's being sold for such a long period, there is a demand for it, right? Somebody keeps using it. So, no risks here. I think that even E10, and it seems to me that even E10 will be quickly implemented in Ukraine. We're not going to wait for 10 years, as it was the case in Europe, to switch to that standard. And why? Because I think that one of the reasons to implement bioethanol mixtures is it's a synchronization with European standards. This is what our government officials like to, under the cover of Euro integration, they like to push some unpopular standards. But basically, the main engine of this program were the agrarians who were openly lobbying this draft law in the parliament because they have the economic situation really deteriorated because of the ruination of the export channels for their export of their products, specifically corn, and they were insisting on intensifying the use of this type of fuel in Ukraine, and bioethanol is one of such methods. But where's the problem here? The problem is that should we produce this gasoline with bioethanol admixtures here in Ukraine, it could create a demand here. But currently, the majority of the companies, let's put it like this, the key chains, so to say, they've chosen to import the ready-made mixture from Europe. So in fact, we are going to be using European bioethanol, not Ukrainian. Probably there is a certain fraction of Ukrainian bioethanol there because we export bioethanol to Europe, but it's a European producer who's going to figure it out which bioethanol to use. So this effect that was expected by the agrarians will not be yielded by this program because what they need, the tanks, the equipment, the mixing plants, I mean, that's all risky. We see dozens, more than 70 oil bases, oil storage depots were attacked since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, and nobody wants to risk. So to make sure this program gains a momentum, I mean, for those who want to use it here, it's needed for them to buy more so that we could adopt the E10 program the soonest possible. Because even using that small volume, we need to increase the use of bioethanol, and it's going to be the right thing to do. Because look, currently the situation is like this: E5, like the 5% mixture of bioethanol, is a non-standard product for European Union. They have 10% admixture. And to make this product for Ukraine, they need dedicated tanks, dedicated plants. And to do this, the producers ask for more money from us, like 50 kopecks from a liter, but still, it's some amount. And it's technologically complicated. If we have E10 standard implemented in Ukraine, we can buy the same mixture that the Europeans use. It's going to be easier. It's going to be technologically more simplified, and E10 is not really different from E5 mixture. In fact, it has even less requirements to transportation and storage. So this mixture is even more stable than E5. E5 requires a lot of different things for storage and transportation. It can absorb a lot of humidity. Meanwhile, E10, for example, is way more predictable. So it turns out that we are ourselves interested in such a transition. Well, look, we already have a 15-year delay compared to Europe. You know, it doesn't make a difference. E5, E10, like technologically, it doesn't influence anything when it comes to the cars. Well, in terms of operations, how long do we need for this transition to E10 standard, in your opinion? Well, when it comes to market, I would say they could switch in a month. We just have to contract those amounts. When it comes to legislation, I don't know. It's going to depend on the parliament, on the government, on how quickly they can work. But from the market perspective, it's easy. We started talking about the readiness of the infrastructure. So again, what are the challenges for the oil storage depots and gas stations? Well, it's only one challenge that exists here: the war risks. More than 70 storage depots, almost all of the oil processing facilities, well, all of them were attacked by the Russians. The attacks are ongoing. Like just a couple of weeks ago in Odessa, another big terminal was hit. There were losses of fuel that amounts to millions of dollars. I mean, every such hit is millions of dollars. And that hunt, unfortunately, continues. And respectively, a lot of companies were forced to refuse the use of oil storage depots to reduce their risks of significant losses, because it impacts the economy. I mean, the market is really not in a very good condition because the amounts of consumption keep falling. We see that within the first 4 months of the year 2025, we can observe that there is a reduction of consumption of diesel and liquefied natural gas. There is compared to the previous year, when it comes to gasoline, there is a small growth, but generally the market is in loss. And again, additional losses, such as those resulting from the Russians' attacks, it's a dangerous situation for the market. That's exactly why this bioethanol program didn't start working just like it was intended to. Everybody was expecting that we are going to generate the demand for our bioethanol, but in fact we are going to generate the demand for European bioethanol, first of all. But on the other hand, we are going to start these programs, we're going to catch up technologically, and hopefully when the war is over, we're going to be ready to run real fast and to produce it, because a lot of companies are preparing for it. For example, one of the biggest chains, Okko, they are building bioethanol facility, 83,000 tons per year, today is that the overall amount of production, and it's only one manufacturing facility that is going to increase the production twice. And currently there are several such plants in construction. So we are going to have like about 500,000 tons of bioethanol per year against current 80 or 90,000. So we have where to sell it, and we are going to see the lobbying of the E30 and E40 programs, because we are really going to have a lot of that bio component, and exporting it probably is going to be a little bit problematic because there is a quote for Europe, I think 100,000 tons. If we have 500, we will need to figure something out, and obviously if we have it, we will need to use it in Ukraine, so we can potentially become an exporter.
We are exporters now, to be honest. We are only consuming around 30,000, but we will have even more. Also, I would like to hear your opinion on how the addition of bioethanol influences the price. Well, almost it doesn't influence the price almost at all. Let's see what ethanol is in reality. This is a component that is providing a higher octane number, and which leads to better combustion. And when some more dirtier components are in the mix, it's worse. But in the situation when we're adding a bioethanol, it's almost non-existent factor for the price creation, price composition. The only thing that needs to be mentioned is that it's a non-standard product for some of the producers, Ukrainian producers. Like, for example, a Romanian producer is producing E0, like the gasoline without the ethanol, and also produces E10. However, in Ukraine, there is no possibility for some of the producers to produce this E0 components. However, some of our producers have found ways to produce this component E0. So it's always additional problems. Otherwise, it does not influence the price of the gasoline. As you can see, after the 1st of May, the price of the gasoline did not rise. At some gas pump stations, the prices actually fell a little bit. What can influence the price, unfortunately, is the increase of the oil prices. Like in the past few days, we see oil prices increase like around 10%, and that has led to increase of the gasoline prices a little bit. Still, the market always has a little leeway for the fluctuations on the oil market. It also needs to be seen in the context of the war. So these norms, how will they affect the oil market prices, or fuel market prices? I don't think that a lot will change unless we will see a rise in illegal gasoline stations. There is problems. There are small problems with fuel networks adaptation to the new system, and what we can foresee is some kind of small gray activities, you know, among the pump gas pump stations that could use a smaller octane fuel, which will lead to the layering of different types of the fuel inside the reservoirs, and this will become basically not the product that we are actually trying to implement. And all of this is the question of discipline, of the control. So, but we have a positive dynamics in terms of legalization of businesses, and including those that are working in the gasoline production. The rest of the companies, I can see that they are working normally. There were a little bit of fear. However, it's thank you, dear colleagues. If you have questions, please. No questions. Okay, so I will have a last question for you. So, as far as I understand, you're familiar with the operation of our fuel station, gas stations. So, can you tell us, are they actually ready to provide this kind of service? Are they capable of providing necessary quality? You know, not much will change in terms of the end product. The end product does not demand a lot. Just simple cleanliness of the reservoirs, of the transportation reservoirs. We don't have that many factories or producers that produce. It's around 4, and so it all is depending on the cleanliness of the fuel that has been delivered to the consumer, like the cleanliness of the gas pumps, those gas pistols, and so on and so on. We had some problems with that previously. However, the administrative punishment for the violation of the rules have been implemented, and now we don't see much violations. And what can you tell about the panic that could happen on the market? Yeah, there were some a small agitation on the market when people started to look for additional fuel, extra fuel for some period of time. So, like, for example, a week or two before the implementation of this norm, people started to the gas stations started to order extra fuel. However, it did not. There was no necessity for this, basically. Thank you, everyone. It was Serhii Kuiun with us, and today we will be talking about the humanitarian aid reformation. Glory to Ukraine.